So Podpoi with FPC tethers. When I first reviewed them last year, I was honestly a little skeptical of them, but they've grown on me in ways that I wasn't anticipating. Drex here from Drex Factor Poi, sharing with you the love of poi spinning and flow arts to benefit your body and brain. And today, I want to do an update to include some of my newer thoughts on Podpoi with FPC tethers. But before we dive in, I just want to give a quick shout out to the friends of the channel. Big thanks to Dark Monk, Fire Mecha, Flow Fests, Flow Toys, Juggling Calling, Pyroterra Light Toys, Spinballs, and Ultrapoi for helping to make the videos on this channel possible. You can learn more about all of these awesome companies and the work that they're doing to support flow artists like yourself by checking out the links that I have down in the description of this video. And special thanks to the non-business friends of the channel, Lain Mochinsky and Pekha Pekkonen. Thank you both so much for supporting my channel, my work, and my mission. So seriously, the weather here in DC has been acting like a yo-yo for the past few weeks. We've had an 80-degree day, we have had a 30-degree day, and fortunately this magnolia tree in the courtyard here, the blossoms have managed to survive all of the cold snaps, and I'm hoping that they will continue to do so, because last year they didn't fully bloom. They got frozen before they could, and I really love seeing the blossoms of this magnolia tree. But let's be real, none of y'all clicked on this video in order to hear me talk about the magnolias in the courtyard. Y'all came to hear my thoughts on Podpoi with the FPC tethers, and to understand why it's come as kind of a surprise to me that they've grown on me, it's probably helpful to talk about some of the misgivings that I had about them when I first reviewed them. When did I first review them? All right, let me look this up right quick. I don't know whether it is encouraging or discouraging that my performance videos are coming up in search before the review, but here it is. 6 months. It's been 6 months since I've reviewed them, so it has been probably closer to 7 or 8 months that I've had them, period. Wow, time is a weird thing. Okay, so what exactly was I skeptical of when I first got those Podpoi with FPC tethers? I think one of the big things was that the form factor just felt odd to me. I'd gotten so accustomed to using Podpoi with the really thin leashes, first with flow cord and then with the smithy rope, that having thicker tethers just seemed so incongruous to me. It seemed almost counter to the spirit of the entire prop. Point number two, I kind of felt like it changed the form factor of the prop a lot. Like traditionally with Podpoi, I would always see them as being kind of these points of light on the end of a very skinny tether. And when switching over to the FPC tethers, all of a sudden the form factor felt to me way more like sock poi. So you could see the full profile of the tether. And again, it just felt so incredibly incongruous to me in terms of what I was used to with Podpoi. And finally, some of y'all will remember that when I first got those tethers, I actually trimmed them down because they were a little bit long for my tastes. And in the process, one of them started to fray, and I was concerned about how durable they were going to be in the long term based upon that. This is also kind of a minor quibble, but one of the things that I really liked about the older tethers for Podpoi was that they wouldn't take up very much room. Like I could very easily get them stuck inside of my shoulder bag along with my iPad and a notebook, and they would fit in there just brilliantly. The FPC tethers, granted, they still fit, but it takes a little bit more effort. It's a minor quibble, but it was one that I kind of like held on to against them. Okay, so it's now 6+ months later, and to my very pleasant surprise, I'm kind of sold on these now. Like, I've gone back and forth between them and the older tethers several times now, and I really do prefer the FPC tethers. So the biggest reason just has to do with feel. I am using contact poi, I'm using sock poi all the time, and Podpoi have always been on the lighter end of the spectrum of poi that I use. And yet now with the FPC tethers, the weight's a lot more consistent with what I'm used to, and the weight distribution is a lot more consistent with what I'm used to. I find that when I pull out my Podpoi that have the older smithy rope tethers, I have a little period of adjustment where I have to kind of retrain myself on tosses and even just on how the momentum of the poi operates because, well, they're a lot lighter than what I usually practice with. Whereas when I pull out the FPC tethers, there's almost no adjustment, which that's kind of cool. And it also has to be said that especially when it comes to spinning them on video, they just show up a lot better. This is true of thicker tethers in general. whenever you're using thicker tethers, they show up better on video and they show up better on stage, and that's not nothing. And for my belly aching about them taking up a little bit more room in my bag when I take them from place to place, it's not really that much more room. It's really important to me to have portable sets of poi to take around town with me, and definitely when I'm going around after dark and I think I might want to pull out a set of LED poi, the FPC Podpoi are now my go-to for that. Also, to my pleasant surprise, despite having frayed the tether when I cut it, after 6+ months of heavy usage, the tether really hasn't frayed any more than that. I pretty much only notice that when I can feel the texture of it being a little bit different with one of the poi tethers versus the other. But aside from that, it shows no signs of breaking down at all. And it's funny because when I first got those poi, I didn't think I was going to be using them all that much. And then the people at Flow Toys came back to me and specifically requested that I do some performance videos, some flow videos, using those specific poi, which I thought was strange because so many of the videos that I had shot for them were using their Vision poi. And yet, if I hadn't had to keep picking them up and keep using them, I don't know if I would have gotten here on my own. So now I'm kind of glad that they were so very choosy on that. So yeah, I'm gonna say 6+ months on, I think the FPC tethers have officially won me over and become my favorites and displaced the old smithy rope Podpoi. But what do you think? Do you own Podpoi with smithy rope tethers? How do you think they compare to the older smithy ropes? Do you think they're too thick? Do you have any concerns about them in the long term? Or have you found them to be a surprisingly good option over time? I'm real curious. Leave me a comment and let me know. And of course, if you'd like to pick up a set of Podpoi with FPC tethers for yourself, you can use my special promo code to get a discount on your order. That code is DrexFactor2023 with a 0 instead of an O. Use that code at checkout and you'll get a discount on your order. Thanks to the fine folks at Flow Toys for extending me that courtesy. Did you get anything out of this video? Please make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe to help other people find it, to help keep the conversation going, and of course, to help my channel grow. This video would not be possible without the kind support of all of these lovely people right here. These are my Flow patrons over on Patreon. They and the people listed down in the description help to make this video and all the videos on this channel possible. Thank you so very much for supporting my work and my mission. If you out there watching are not currently a supporter and you'd like to become one, you can do that by heading on over to patreon.com/DrexFactorPoi and signing up. There you can get access to a whole host of awesome rewards, and even better, you'll be helping me out in my mission to bring poi spinning and flow arts to the whole wide world. Go check that out, please and thank you. If you'd like to check out some of my LED poi reviews, including the review that I did for those FPC Podpoi, I'm going to leave a link to a playlist of those videos down in the description as well as up here on screen if you're watching on YouTube. Also, the YouTube algorithm thinks that you might like this here top video based upon your past viewing habits, so maybe give that a look as well. Thanks so much for watching. Make sure to get out and flow today, and I'll see you with a brand new video on Monday. Peace.